give people a few minutes here. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was running around like all day. Like I broke some stuff in my house and some stuff I've been neglecting fixing. So I'm just like running around just trying to get materials and stuff. So that's gonna be my day tomorrow is just fixing broken shit.
That sucks. I'm
That is what it is. I mean, part of being a homeowner.
Yeah, that's true. I know it never ends.
Yeah, no, it does not end. Now it says we're live, and we've been live for like 37 seconds, but nobody's tuning in. So I don't know if we are actually. Oh, there we go. People are starting to trickle in. Yeah, I'd like to start using those third-party apps like StreamYard, just because you can do just about anything with StreamYard. That's what everybody uses, and you can stream videos, view videos. You could have like 5 or 6 people on there. It's really nice, but I tried to set it up for the one with Coy, who just he's there now. I tried to set one up with him, and I just could not get it to sync up with my YouTube. It was kind of ridiculous. So Coy, I wore this for you. I know you're a desert camo aficionado, so I dug out my finest tricolor desert. This is actually Swedish. I think it's M90. This I wore this for you. All right, we're sitting at about 30. We'll give it a few more minutes just to let some more trickle in, and we'll get into the topic. Opinion on the Galil Ace and 545. Why? Why? I always get asked these oddball questions on the like AK stuff, and it's like, hey, would you recommend this? Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, I'm sure the Galil Ace and 545 is a fine weapon, but you know, 545 is extremely expensive right now, and honestly, the Galil Ace is not my favorite platform, so I just don't really see the point. Craving chocolate chips. Okay. Bum. Desert Flaktorn is better. I don't disagree with that statement. Desert Flaktorn is better, but I just don't have any, and I'm not going to go shopping for some just so I could wear it on the stream. You know, I had this in my closet, so you know, I'm not going to hit up the Army Surplus store for a live stream. This ain't happening. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Everybody, this is Chevy Hood. Am I saying that right, Chevy Hood?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself for the 40, 53 people that are watching now.
Okay. Just real quick, I did 8 years in the Army Reserves. Didn't do anything cool. I was a supply guy in an MP unit, and part of that's armor school, so that was the coolest part of my job. But I did that, and then I was a cop for 8 years as well. Ran on an SRT team for a few of those years, and got hurt on the job during the robbery. My foot halfway tore off, and they fixed it the best they could, but they retired me. So done a few different jobs since then. My last full-time job I was doing was working in the mental health field with kids that's been abused. Did that for a couple years, got kind of burnt out on it, and now I'm doing firearms instruction full-time. So firearms instruction, firearms events, and I've just been having fun with it really. So, and that's pretty much it. So I got my own company called Hood's Handgun Training. That's where I do all my trainings through. And then I'm friends with the guys at Whiskey Hotel. Jim Coleman, the owner, he subcontracts me, my LLC for him, and then I wear his shirt. So I go instruct. So I'm also an instructor with Whiskey Hotel in that way.
Now, your Instagram you just started not too long ago. It's, if I'm not mistaken, it's Hood Handgun Training.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody told me to make one years ago. Man, I've been training people for over a decade.
Right.
I hate social media, and I just needed to do better at it. So yeah, I just made an Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on and off Instagram, which drives people nuts for some reason. But I get my fill of it. I just want to be done with it. But at the same time, it's the easiest way to communicate with people. So like everybody that I want to communicate with on Instagram, they have my phone number. But if I text somebody, like it'll be like 3 days later and I'll get a text back. But if I DM them on Instagram, it's like 3 seconds later. It's just the weirdest phenomenon. And then if I want
Yep.
to, you know, share something like, let's say I got a project going on that I think these guys would be interested in, like I got to send like 5 different texts, whereas on Instagram I could just send like one post and tag them all in it. So as much as I hate it, as much as I hate it, it is a lot easier for communication, networking, things like that. But at the same time, I'm not really doing anything other than just hanging out with my friends. Yeah, I'm not running a business, anything like that. Now, as far as like the YouTube, you've got a YouTube that's really underrated, like 800 subs. Yeah, I checked it out when you sent me the link, and there's some pretty good videos on there. So if you're interested, go check it out. There's a lot of training snippets on there. There's a lot of things on there that I find interesting. What is the Pepper Shaw? You got a Pepper Shaw video on there. That's right up my alley.
Yeah, that gun.
Yeah, that thing's pretty neat. So definitely go check it out. Now, what we're going to do today, we're going to start off talking about, we both did Ridge Racer the first day when it was the monsoon, when the 50-year storm for Point Break kind of intersected with firearm stuff. I mean, that was ridiculous. So we met briefly there, and then we just been kind of chit-chatting back and forth on Instagram and whatnot. So we'll start off talking about that, and then we're going to go into a focus, which is, training with the rifle that you're going to use, because that's something that Whiskey Hotel and I talked about, and we've talked about, which I think is an important thing. But at the same time, when I show up to that event, I'm going to game the game. that's just something I'm going to do, and that's something that a lot of guys are going to do. Which, I definitely see the point of working with the gun that you're going to shoot, that you're going to go to. But at the same, but for me, it's just an event. Like I showed up with an AK-74 just so I could have fun, right? It's not necessarily something I'm going to use if there's a poop sandwich and I need to fight my way out of it. But for an event like that, it was fun. But we'll get into that. So you actually took fourth, right? You took fourth on the event for the day.
Third. I took third.
Third. Okay. Oh, that's right. Somebody else who I can't talk about, they took fourth. You took third, which is pretty awesome. Now, what kind of setup were you running for that?
So, at Whiskey Hotel, we're kind of known as like the DMO guys, and it's funny because like we're kind of like they're just fighting rifles. You know what I mean? We just have the capability to shoot as far as our cartridge is capable. And we typically throw the number around point blank to 550 because the range we shoot at all the time has 550 yards. So that being said, my rifle is a 20-inch barrel. It's a Frankenstein. My gun's a Frankenstein, but 20-inch barrel, 2 to 10 Trijicon Frito is what I'm running. And all of us have different scopes. So you'll see we got like different scopes, different magnifications. But I happen to be running a 20-inch fax and match fluted barrel in 5.56, so it's 223 Wild.
Now, do you like fax them? Because I think they're a pretty good value for what you're getting.
James Heldman turned me on to them and told me they were shooting real good, and I bought one and tried it, and it's running about. So it's kind of interesting. I'm shooting factory Winchester white box M193 through it because it's actually true M193.
Right, it's not some garbage.
Yeah, it's going about 3,300 feet per second with that 20 inch. And the accuracy I'm seeing, because Winchester white box kind of sucks, but I chose that because it's pretty much a military cartridge, and I can buy it everywhere. And through that barrel, I'm shooting about 1.5 to 2 MOA. So, I could get more accuracy if I was running a hand load or a max load or something like that, but I shoot too much to spend that much money. And the targets, the sizes we're shooting, I don't need it. 500, I can make at 500 with that. So,
well, I mean, you got the law of diminishing return. So if you did more expensive ammo, you did more, hand loading, things like that. To shrink it down from 2 MOA to 1 MOA for the distances you're shooting, is it worth it? I just don't. Me personally, I don't see it. That's just me personally. I get crap for that all the time. That I say 2 to 3 MOA is perfectly fine for 500 yards, but the internet likes to argue.
I know.
I would. Yeah, go ahead.
I would just say don't get too worked up about it. Just find your limitations and shoot it. I have reasons why I run what I have, and we can get into that more. But yeah, sorry, all over the place. 20-inch gun. 2 to 10 Credo. I run a top dot at 12 o'clock for shooting passive with nods. Actually, this is totally a green screen behind me, and this is
Yes.
totally not real. So anyway, I run a laser on the side.
Now I'm not a fan of the laser on the side, just because my time in the Marines like 20 years ago. Like we
I
had the
hate
PEC 2s and we put them on the side. We could not zero them. It wasn't until we put them on the top that we were able to get those things zeroed.
so
If that makes any sense.
100%. I actually hate mine on the side too. The reason why it's on the side is because I'm running a D-ball D2, and
Okay.
it's a giant chunky laser, and my scope mount is a 1.5, so it actually gives me a ton of scope shadow. So I'm gonna save up some money. I'm actually gonna switch to a Badger Ordnance. What's it called? Something more. Anyway, I'm gonna switch to 193, so it'll I can put my red dot back on top. But it's a $500 mount. I'm just sitting on it for right now.
You're not going to go with like the GBRS Starship Enterprise dealio?
No,
That's not on the menu.
no.
It looks amazing. I mean, that's one thing I think is interesting is like the trend of like flashy gear. Like they put that out. Everybody made fun of it. Whatever they made it, they tried to make a case about its usability with that height, and then they put out stock risers, right? Like
Yep.
you're putting out stock cheek risers for something that doesn't need to be that high to begin with. That's a whole different conversation. Just something I found interesting.
Just like chasing
But
it.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the 20-inch barrel, that's what I run. I was trying to dig a picture up, but I just have my, if I was actually in a poop sandwich, which is highly unlikely and probably never going to happen, but the 20-inch barrel is what I would just go with just because of the velocity, the sheer, you're pushing 193 out at like what, 3,300 feet per second. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yep.
In this modern day and age of everybody's got body armor, why not, right? Like that's your best chance of trying to defeat body armor. That's
Yep.
just me personally. I'm not an AR guy. Like that was one thing that was funny. I talked a little bit about this with Coy is, in between stages, you're just BSing with your squad, and guys are like talking about like this reticle, that reticle, this nomenclature. I was like, guys, I don't know. I'm not an AR guy. Like I don't know the difference between a Fax and a Crichton. I don't know the difference between this reticle, that reticle. I'm just not a detail oriented guy like that because I don't need to be. I can take my 20-inch Colt and I can hit shit all the way out to 600 yards if I need to with my setup. I really don't care about like the details. It's just not in my wheelhouse. But again, I'm a simple dude. I'm not that bright.
No, man. No, I respect the AK stuff. One of my good friends is really into them, and we'll talk about them, and it's like Chinese to me. But
Yeah.
I can build an AR
Yeah.
that can shoot before.
Well, again, like I know ARs, but I don't get into the details. Like I understand like what you need, but as far as something new hits the market, it's got this kind of reticle and this kind of BDC. It's just not in my wheelhouse because I'm just not that kind of detail-oriented guy. Even when it comes to AK stuff, I don't, other than the details for building, but I just don't get into like I got friends that are just completely autistic with it. And I could care less. I don't care if my parts kit is matching. I don't care if it's this certain type of receiver. All I care is it works, it holds headspace, and it's going to last me a long time. So somebody said your mustache is pissing me off. Look, I'm going to tell you what. That is a fantastic mustache. That is fantastic. Look at that thing. That is Tom Selleck in his youth. That is amazing.
He's just jealous, man. You know what? I shaved my beard off as a joke, and then I was like, you know what? And well, actually, all right. So you'll like this. Big reason. I really like history, and I have full Doughboy World War I kit, and I'm actually going to shoot a vintage rifle match tomorrow in full Doughboy kit. So the mustache complements Doughboy kit really well. But don't worry, as soon as it's to warm up or cool off a little bit, I'll grow the beard back. I like a big beard.
Keep the stash. That makes you more tactical just by having it, right? Like, I think I think Whiskey Hotel said, your accuracy point goes up 5. Accuracy up 5. Speed might drop a little bit because it's not aerodynamic.
Yes,
I'll tell you, I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna shoot one of those matches. I'm gonna grow a stash just for that. I'm gonna look ridiculous. I'm gonna look like the circus strongman with my bald head and the mustache. But that's neither here nor there. It's still gonna happen, right? So the main thing, like with an event like that, and this is what started the conversation between me and Whiskey Hotel, was I put out a video just saying, hey, here's the event and here's what I recommend. Just be, my dog is getting into our shoe bin and it's driving me nuts. But anyway, so when I put out my video, I just basically just said, you'll be fine with like a 14.5 pin and weld. You don't need anything fancy with some sort of magnification. And Jimmy came back with, you really should be using what you're going to train with. And I agree with that 100%. So if your gun that you're training with, the gun that you're using is like an 18-inch SPR or 20-inch duty rifle, whatever terminology you want to use, I completely understand wanting to use that, train with in events like that. But for me, I just want to show up and have fun. I just want to do the best I can. I'm going to show up with a 14.5 with an ACOG and just keep it as light as possible. But I definitely get the point there. Now, one thing that I did find was interesting, again, not being an AR guy, is the LPVBO guys constantly changing their magnification at almost every station, which was interesting to me. Like, I'm just running ACOG on a Power 3, and I like to think I did okay. I was making like single shot hits for the majority of the day. But I was watching some of the footage of some of the other shooters, and like every single station, you see them. And do you think that's necessary? Do you think it's needed to make that kind of adjustment every time?
Necessary? No. It is nice to be able to back it down and have a wider field of view. And then once you locate it, you can zoom in. But here's my opinion on that particular match and using that stuff. The targets were close enough. Didn't need it. I besides like the orange course where they were out to 500, but it's running my 2 to 10 power. I pretty much ran it on 5 power the whole match, just to give you some confidence.
Yep. That high?
And about 5. Just because I like 5 because I can still make detailed shots. I can still on 5 power make out detail at 100 yards. And I noticed that on green and yellow course, most targets were about 100 yards. So 5 power. Did I need 5 power? No, but I could see the targets with the naked eye. It was easy to get on them. So that's just what I did.
Yeah, again, it's just one of those things. It's just something I picked up when I was watching the video. Is guys just constantly. I just didn't see the need of it. I was like, if I have LPVBOs, and when I run LPVBO, I just keep it on like 3 or 4, just because I want that wider field of view, right? And I'm fine with that unless I really have to punch out there. But it's just something that I just found interesting. And then the amount of guys just running big guns, running like the 18-inch SPR type with like a 3 to 9 scope, and then they're running like a 3 mag placard, which I thought was an interesting combo. You're bringing more weight in the gun, but you're bringing less in ammo. So that kind of like balance just didn't make sense to me. But then you got somebody like Coy. I think he ran like a ridiculous amount of magazines. I think he said he ran something like 12 or 14 magazines or something like that, and he still maintained a fairly I think it was like a 14.5 Geisley with a like a 1 to 6 or something like that, if I remember correctly. So he's still running a pretty hefty gun, and he's still running like 14 mags, which I respect. Yeah, I respect that. I think that's a decent combat loadout right there.
I ran so I ran 6 mags in my chest rig, 1 in the gun, and then I keep a couple spares in my day pack. So 9 mags maybe with a 20-inch gun. But he also ran his full pack, and I ran like a day pack that was like so you could fit more mags in.
Yeah, I think it was like a full Alice, if I wasn't mistaken, which, respect. I I opted not to do any of that. Like I did the bare minimum. I'm not in any kind of decent shape, but I tried to get the best shape I could in like 3 months. And being a middle-aged man, still leaves a lot to be desired. So I just went with the slickest belt setup I could, and then no pack. And then I passed up every opportunity. Like we had opportunities for extra credit, like carrying ammo cans, things like that. I passed up every additional bit of work I could just to, keep focus and energy on the main event. But yeah, it's just definitely an interesting, like seeing. And that's one thing I did like about the event is you got to meet other people, see their gear, kind of see their philosophies on why they're carrying some of the things they did. It's like, man, how come you got 3 magazines and a 10-pound gun? He's like, well, I don't need much more than 3. I can hit what I'm aiming at. Like, fair, fair. But at the same time, the loadout list did say about 6 magazines.
It's time to go into this topic. And I was the same. I shot most of my targets first shot. I shot a lot of them standing. I
Yeah.
saw them and could engage them quicker standing, and I shot them because they were like, I think they were roughly like 2.56 Hyundai. I said, I can make those shots standing. Even with a high heart rate, I was able to make. I missed 1 or 2 and then made them with a follow-up shot. But that being said, I didn't do it. And I think that's like the Whiskey Hotel guys have. Like, run what you have, and we all build out. Most of us are vets, but not all of us. So we build out more of an infantryman loadout, not
Right.
special forces. So what is that? That's 6, 7 magazines across the chest, a couple of quarts of water, medical, all this stuff. I've been running sniper matches and stuff like that. And the only thing I ever modify is stuff that I need to specifically do that match for. Like, normally I don't run a pistol in my kit.
Yeah,
So
I don't.
It
I don't
really
either.
hurt. Yeah, it really hurt me to take off one of my 1-quart canteens to put pistol mags there to do that match. You know what I mean? Because I want the water, and
Right.
and I still had water on me, but I want a gallon of water on me.
Yeah.
So anyway, run what you have. I wasn't gaming it. I ran like my infantry /movement kit with my rifle that I run for everything. I'll shoot that same rifle in short range matches and long range matches. And I just train with it all the time. Am I going to win any of those disciplines? No, but I'll still get middle of the pack with them.
Right. I mean, you took third, so you're doing something right. Right. I think I took 17. So that was a few rungs below you. Now, as far as like what you're saying with you hit most of the targets in the standing, that's a training standard that I completely agree with. Is I think I picked this up from Larry Bickers like 10 years ago. Is you should be able to take your rifle from the standing, hit a paper plate all day long, which I agree with that like 100%. And I can do that. Like I have the ability to do that with any one of my Kalashnikovs. But like when I did the event, I was shooting mostly from whatever stabilizing apparatus was there, whether it's a rock, a drum, windowsill, whatever, just because I want to make sure that I'm hitting, right? But I see your point, like for speed of the event, just going from the standing and the ability to hit from the standing with an elevated heart rate. I think that's an awesome thing, but I'm just not there physically yet. I got a little bit more cardio to do. Because I'm not gonna lie, like about midway through yellow, going up and down the wet clay hill, that was just like assed out. I was like, whoo. Sucks getting old.
And no,
Right,
I mean, it sucked.
Well, I'm gonna see if I can turn this off so everybody can see my fantastic dog. Look at this. Look at this nose right here. My dog does not like when I do these live streams. He gets in my face, and it's really, really bothersome at times. But anyway, back to the thing at hand. So, like the main thing I like, again, I firmly love this event, and I'll definitely want to do it as much as I can. And the thing I like most about it is that you don't know what the heck's going on, right? You have no knowledge of what it is until you show up. And I like that because that's more realistic than you come to, like a 2-gun match that's on a flat range. You stand in the hula hoop like this, and then you already know what the course of fire is, and you're just gaming it. I don't like that just because it kind of builds. I'm going to show this picture real quick. All right, this is from Walmart today. Not to get off topic. This is my man open carrying an Uncle Mike's holster. This is inside the waist holster that he had on his sweatpants by the little silver clip. Don't be this guy. But anyway, so the whole point, the whole thing I liked about it is if you didn't know what it was, you had to show up on game day, and you just had to be ready to do the best you can, adapt, overcome, which I think is fairly realistic and reasonable. I see all the time on Instagram, and I'm not talking smack on people that do these competitions, to where it's just basically, you know, I know what the course of fire is. I'm just waiting to go beep so I can go as fast as I can. I've done those when I was younger, and it just doesn't do much for me. I like this kind of event because it's more physical, it's more thinking, and you have to, have more rounded skill set. If you come in with just like one skill set, which I can shoot really good at 25 yards, you're not going to do very well at this event. So I like that it's a little bit more rounded. Let's go back to this one, so everybody can see your YouTube there.
I should really this video again. I haven't posted a video in like a year. I just like.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the last one was like a year, which I understand. I mean, you're at 800 subs. You can't even monetize yet, but the videos you have on there are pretty good. Especially like the stuff between you and Whiskey Hotel. Just kind of going through like a training class and all that stuff, and kind of the realistic. And that's the thing that I really really like about Whiskey Hotel and you is that you guys have experience, right? Like Whiskey Hotel has been in combat. He's been in an ambush. He's been shot at. So he's not just regurgitating something he read from a manual or something he saw from some class. Like, this is a guy with experience, and I appreciate that level of like, and it's not, and just from the sense I get, I haven't taken one of his classes, but the sense I've got from talking to people that have, and the people, what I see on the videos that you guys have posted, is it's not like, well, back in my day, this is how it works. You're making an effort to be current, be relevant, and give people information that they could use, at whatever level that the class is geared for. That's just what I picked up just from watching a little bit of footage, and that's why I don't mind, giving you guys a shout out, because I think it's good training you never know what you might need it for. And I'm rambling right now, so I apologize.
I appreciate the shout out, but one thing Jimmy says is, and I'm going to butcher it, Jimmy. Sorry, I see he's in here, but he'll tell you, if you learn a skill and you don't have a way to test it, is it a real skill?
That's true.
So that's something that's kind of interesting about Team Ruck Match, is that when Jimmy posts a DMR class, we got a DMR 1, 2, and 3. They fill instantly, and it's a really good curriculum. But I mean, I'm not bragging or anything, but when you see the Team Ruck Match, a lot of the top shooters are typically DMR alumni, because the guys have really soaked this stuff up and practiced it a lot. And what I like about that is the guys learn a skill in a class, and then they have some type of way to compete against each other.
The comps. Now, he sent me a couple of videos of the comps. That one thing I liked is guys show up with like these full backpacks and these like really, these very bulky rigs. And he's making them crawl underneath like a cable spool. Like, he's like, all right, that backpack's not helping you out there, is it?
It's fun too.
I thought that was funny because I've been there myself. It's like, I got all this crap on me. I got to crawl through something, and it doesn't work that way. Sorry, I'm fighting with dogs while I'm trying to talk to you. I'm sorry if I seem
No, you're good.
Lemon sounds like he's in a bunker. I sound like I'm in a bunker because, unfortunately, I put my regular headphones through the washing machine. I'm using my backups, and they're not the greatest. So I apologize for that. This is what happens when you have TBI. You forget things like take your headphones out of your pocket before you put your laundry in. It happens.
I've washed mine a few times too. That's all right.
Oh yeah. Like I need to get a microphone or something.
Yeah, I don't know how to make it work on live streams. I've done a few live streams before, but it's been a while. But okay, so yeah, I guess one thing that I wanted to hit on, and we briefly talked about it though, is when I'm doing these events, and first off, and also, there's nothing wrong with just running something for fun. Like I told you,
Right.
I'm running a vintage rifle match tomorrow in World War One 1917 kit because it's cool.
Nice.
I think it's cool. I'm gonna run my 1917 with my Brody helmet and my full wool uniform. It's gonna be a blast. But and I'll shoot more serious matches like that too. But when I want to, I should say 90% of the time though, I'm running what I think is my real kit.
And that's
So
smart. I mean, that's the way. That's how you test your shit out. Like, I
yeah,
can't tell you
and
how many times like I've seen people like have this fantastic gear and they show up at the range and then they can't pull a magazine out, right? Like,
yeah,
they go to pull a mag and it's getting jammed up, or they go to reach for their water bottle and they just can't make it. So definitely, you know, like you said, if you got a skill, find some way to use that skill. Otherwise, what's the point of having it? But good part of that is testing out the equipment that you're going to need when life depends on it.
yeah, for sure.
Ugh. Now, as far as
So
like now your background is law enforcement. Now, if just judging by your Instagram, like hood handgun training, how vital do you think pistol skills are? Do you think they're vital, or do you think it's just kind of not needed?
so here's what I honestly think. So I'm a patriot. I'm an army vet. I love my country. I think everybody should own a fighting rifle and 1,000 rounds of ammo and kit, and they should go train with it at least once a month. Some
Yeah,
people think I'm radical and crazy, but it's your American heritage to do that. And you're right. So why not just go do it? Plus, it's fun. You can have fun with your buddies and train and be responsible. So I think that's important. And we're doing that for what? Basically, for war, whether
I'm
that's
sitting here with
whatever.
Thomas Paine's Common Sense, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
We're doing that stuff to train for war. Are we going to see war? Probably not, and hopefully not. But that's what you're training for. Now, my pistol stuff, I think it's super important because I'm probably, and it's the chance of you ever getting in a shooting, involved in a shooting is so slim. It's like having insurance on your house or your car, right? Probably less chance even of something happening like that. But I think you need to be good with a pistol for a self-defense scenario, not
Right.
war, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
so that's just kind of how I feel about it. It's kind of a sensitive topic for people because that's pretty deep stuff, but it's fun. And, train with your freaking rifle and your kit and get good with it and carry a pistol for self defense in case you get robbed.
Still hear me? I'm taking the headphones out. All right. I can't hear you now. Let's see. Let's try to figure that one out. Ugh. Let's see. Give me 1 second, guys. I apologize for the technical difficulties here.
All right. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh man, this sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, my Bluetooth doesn't stop working. See if we can get it going again. And my mother-in-law says she needs a gallon of milk. So modern technology, I absolutely hate it. All right, we're back. I can hear you now.
You can hear me? Say
Yeah, I
people
can
in the
hear
comments, mustache, man.
Oh, they love your mustache. I love it too. It's amazing.
They're either calling me gay or saying they love it. That's
Well,
cool.
that's the internet. The internet likes to polarize, right? Like if I say I like chocolate, I'll have half the crew will say, well, strawberry's so much better. Than the other half will say, no, chocolate. So that's just the nature of the internet. It doesn't matter what your opinion is on what topic, you're going to polarize somebody. But like I asked a pistol question because I get asked about pistols all the time, like in my comments, DMs, things like that. Like, hey, what do you think of a good pistol? And quite honestly, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not a pistol guy. I did 3 tours in Iraq. Again, this was 20 years ago. I'm not trying to stand on my laurels with this bullshit. but I've only seen a pistol actually used once in 3 combat deployments. And that was, I don't want to get into it here, but that was like a situation where a pistol should not have been used. It was basically like a corpsman just trying to do something goofy, you know? So when, like, I would rather just have the space on my rig that I'd use for a pistol. I'd rather just have more mags, or like you said, more water. I'd rather have water and ammo than a pistol any day. Now, that being said, you know, I conceal carry pretty much daily, just a regular old Glock. I don't get too fancy with it. And it's just iron sights. I don't feel the need for like red dots and stuff like that. I definitely get the utility. I understand the advantage. And if that was my primary weapon, like if I was a police officer or something like that, I definitely understand wanting a like a red dot on my pistol. But since it's not my primary and I'm pretty good with it in a self-defense type situation, I'm not gonna worry about it. It's just not my thing. Like, I don't care if I have a Glock. I don't care if I have a VP9 or a P99 or, you know, a CZ75. Like, I don't get into that level of details. As long as it's not a SIG P320, I don't care.
So when it comes to kit, so we have a few differences in like what we like and stuff, and that's fine. I 100% agree with you on with my kit. So like, a pistol though. I don't want the weight. I don't want to lose. I would rather carry 3 extra rifle magazines.
Yeah, so that just makes sense to me.
Yeah, I don't want, and when I do these games and stuff, unless I have to have a pistol. And it's funny because I have a training company, pistols in the name, you know. But that being said, when it comes to like training with rifle and stuff like that, I don't care. I don't want a pistol. I want a pistol for concealed carry. I want to be to defend my family out in public. That's the big thing. And I do run not a Gucci pistol. I actually have a strong opinion on race guns and stuff like that. That's all fine. But again, I compete with the same gun I carry and all that stuff.
Right.
And for the last 10 years, I've carried an MVP Performance Center 9L, the ported, and an RMR and a TLR1 flashlight. And I've ran that gun for 10 years because I bought it in 2015, and I actually just broke it 2 weeks ago. And I was talking to my buddy. I've never had an extractor break. Never wore a out. What else? Yeah, nothing else like regular wear stuff has broken. And I'm going to estimate probably have anywhere from 20 to 40,000 rounds on that pistol.
Oh, nice.
But that's with and carry. So, and the part that broke was the. I thought this was really interesting. I've never seen this before. This is the striker.
Right.
And
now that's an M&P, right?
Yep. Here's the other striker. All the plastic disintegrated and broke apart and stopped the gun up. Catastrophic failure. And the sleeve, the striker sleeve, is all chewed up and too. I would say over the last decade, solvent and stuff working its way down there broke the plastic down maybe.
Well, I mean, 40,000 rounds, that's a lot of heat and a lot of, you know, wear and tear right there on a piece of essentially Durlin.
Yeah, it was an excellent gun, and I'm going to fix it.
Now on a Glock, that part is that channel is like hammered in. It's been a while since I've built a Glock, but yeah, I think it's like you get a brand new slide, you have to hammer it in with a tool. Like I said, it's probably been 10 years since I've assembled a Glock. But like the whole Gucci Glock thing, like even for carry, when the Gucci Glock thing, even for carry, my philosophy is I have just a basic Glock 26. That's what I carry on a daily basis. It takes whatever Glock mags. Like I carry like a 10 rounder, and then my second magazine is like a 15 round like G19 mag, right? My theory is if I actually have to use that thing in a situation, as soon as the cops show up, that gun is in an evidence locker for however long it takes, right? Like I'm not going to see that gun again. So if I got a
Right.
Gucci like $1,500, gun, that's $1,500 that I don't have access to for however long that situation takes. So just like a generic like G26, like that cost me $400, I'm not crying. that's just the way I feel on it.
Same.
Which that could be completely wrong. People, the internet's going to tell me how much is your life worth and all that stuff. I get it, but to me, like you said, the chances of actually getting into a situation you need to use that gun is never zero, but pretty slim. And
well,
I just don't see the point having that much money tied up in it.
yeah, you should have a quality gun, but a quality gun doesn't mean it has to be a $2,000 gun.
No.
There's not much that's going to beat your $539 Glock 19. And yeah, the triggers kind of suck on them, but you can train with them and get really good with them. That's I run the M&P because I like Glock too. I for the M&Ps because the performance center model is probably decent size for the trigger, and I'm not going to choose the trigger. People can, I don't care what people do, but I just like.
Yeah, my brother-in-law he wants to get into like two gun, and he just picked up a M&P performance center, like new production, and it's super nice. But at the same time, I can't see carrying that. Like I have like 5 M&Ps. Like I bought like a local law enforcement was like upgrading to something, so they were getting rid of all their M&Ps. So they were selling them like 300 a piece. So I just bought a shitload of them. Just why not? And it's like I'm happy with them. I don't see the problem with them. Everybody dogs on them. It's like who cares? They're good guns that work.
The old hinge triggers and the Gen 1s really sucked, except for the Performance Center model. Because I have the Gen 1 and a Performance Center, and it is an excellent. It helps I have so many rounds on it too. It feels really nice now, but it was pretty good on the box. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it just goes back to, I don't get into details. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say like, well, I think the low bore axis of the CZ is so much better than the high bore axis of the SIG P226. I don't care. It's a 9mm. Get it, buy whatever 9mm you can afford. That's of decent quality. Don't get like a Ruger SR9 or some nonsense. And whatever, just get like 10,000 rounds of ammunition and actually train with it.
Yep.
That's just like my philosophy. The best gun you got is the one that you can run.
Actually, just taught in the revolver class today. I wrote a curriculum. It was my first time teaching this class, and it went really well. Actually, my guys. But that being said, I'm teaching a fighting revolver class. Do I recommend a revolver? Any auto?
No, that's just silly.
But I want to be good with any gun I pick up.
Yeah.
So we just blazed it down for 6 hours running revolvers and fighting contacts, using cover and concealment, shoots and no shoots, and moving targets, all kinds of stuff. It was a good time. So I mainly put my focus in my main guns, which is that full-size M&P I broke and my rifle. But it's okay to train with other stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, variety is the spice of life, right?
It's not my
go-to. When it comes to, yeah, exactly. Well, like the area I live in is very rural. I have literally been attacked by a deer at Dollar General. I was coming out of Dollar General and no shit, a buck like came at me. So like when I go out to the woods and stuff, yeah, I'm gonna carry a 357. It's like, just because you never know. But like if I'm just gonna walk around, like if I got to go to like Baltimore or something like that, I'm not bringing a 357. I'm bringing the Glock 17 with the extendo mags because Baltimore sucks. But again, it just goes to the situation you have at hand. I used to carry my Makarov just because why not? And then I just got to thinking about it. It's like, this is the stupidest concealed carry gun that I own. Like I've got 8 magazines and a heel latch, like reload. So if I carry 2 mags, I'm like what? Like 8 in the gun and 16 in my pocket. I mean, just Like I was carrying it one day and I just happened to think like, man, this is just the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life.
When me and my buddies want to carry something dumb, it's a barbecue gun.
Yeah. It's just
57s or something. It's a barbecue gun to hang out and show the boys your nice leather holster and stuff. That's it.
Well, I tell this story all the time. Like my dad, we grew up in a pretty bad neighborhood, and he always had an Astra 357. That's what he always carried. Astra 357. I just got used to it always being around. And when I got a little bit older, I asked him, I was like, how come you carry the Astra? Why don't you get like a 9mm double stack, something like that? And he said, well, boy, if I ever have to dump a crackhead and I got to get the hell out of there, I don't want to have to pick up shell casings. I was like, okay, Pops, that logic tracks. All right, gotcha. So, but like I have a Kimber, I think it's like called a KS6 or K6S or something like that. It's, it's a 6-shot like carry revolver 357. And I bought it and it was just kind of an impulse buy at the gun store. And I'll carry it from now and then, but at the same time, it's not very practical. I'm not going to, if I ever have to use that thing, I better damn well, hope I can use it. Like you said, be a proficient with as many guns as you can. So if I'm going to carry it, I need to be proficient with it, as stupid as it might be.
Yeah, you should be. And there's a learning curve to getting good with a double action trigger. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely.
You really have to train through that, so you're not jerking that gun around when you jump your shot off. It just takes time.
Well, that's one thing. I used to watch a lot of YouTube like 10, 12 years ago, just trying to understand what the current trends are guns. And this is a quote from Jerry Micklick, which he was doing an interview, or he's doing a product placement thing about the Tavor when they first came out. And somebody asked him, like, do you find the triggers annoying? He's like, son, I'm a revolver jockey. I'm used to the double action bullshit, And that's one of the interesting things. That's one of the interesting things. If you can run a revolver well, you can probably run anything. Like you stop caring about things like what trigger you got in your gun, that sort of thing. Boop, boop, boom.
Pros and cons to everything. I'm not saying revolvers just totally suck because they have a place, but just carry a Glock 19 or an M&P or something,
Bye, Jesse.
That's in my opinion.
There's a guy in the comments that's like, oh, this guy's a pussy. He keeps deleting his stuff because he's worried about doxing. I love doxing. Yeah. Adios, bitch. It's all fun and games until it's your family.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I hate to go off. That's like one of those topics for me that I just don't understand why people don't understand, right? Like your family is your most precious thing that a man could have. And when you got people threatening your family, you do whatever you can to protect them, including take your entire channel down. This doesn't mean anything. This is a hobby. I do this for fun.
I know.
It's just one of those things that just doesn't make sense that people don't understand it. Like somebody with an anonymous account and no videos uploaded calling me a sissy because I don't want my family's name in the comments. Doesn't make sense. But anyway, I got off on a tangent there. Now somebody in here just said they want to get a Astra 357. They are on Gunbroker. I think it's about $400. Yes, I look at them regularly because nostalgia. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. Now, as far as like what you said earlier about being a patriot and getting a rifle regularly, training is really part of your responsibility. I completely agree with that. And when people say that that's just crazy or it's ludicrous, it's insane, it's it's paranoia, whatever people want to say to justify insulting what we think is important. I always just bring up that like the people in Ukraine, one day they're going to work, next day they got Russian paratroopers falling out of the sky. Israel, one day those people were at a rave, and the next day they got crazy assholes with AKs and hand gliders dropping out of the sky and shooting people. You don't know, like you don't know what's coming around the corner, and it would probably be a good idea just to be ready for anything. Not saying that you need to like live in a cabin in the woods and wear a tinfoil hat and all that. But just having a rifle, knowing how to use it just in case, it doesn't cost you that much. Like, you can get like a decent rifle for like $1,000, and you can just buy, $200 of ammo every month, and boom, train with it, get good with it. It doesn't cost that much, and it just doesn't make sense that people don't get that concept. I want the government handing out crinks. Why would you want a crink? A crink is the worst gun ever. Like, I'm just like looking at the comments. Like, I just don't like. I'm an AK guy, and I hate crinks because the crink was designed for tankers. Like, hey, get the hell off my tank. That's what they were designed for. So I don't get. There's no practical purpose for the crink other than that. But it's the same thing with like 300 blackout, right? And I'm going to go off on my little rant here. People love 300 blackout, and I really don't see the purpose of it. It's designed to be like a 30 caliber suppressed round, and we're trying to shoehorn it into like a battle round, which that's just something I don't understand. Like, what's your thoughts on 300 blackout? Just out of curiosity.
It's a fun novelty cartridge to me.
Yeah, exactly. The novelty.
I have one to shoot and suppress because it's fun. That's it.
Yeah. But it's definitely not something I'd want to try to like shoehorn into a round it's not designed for.
Yep.
Now, as far as like, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I don't hate it or anything, but I don't use that for like a serious job. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like one of those things that like people come at me all the time about how great 300 blackout is, and I just don't see it. It's just not there for me. And then folks like well, it's just an improved 7.62 by 39. I'm like, shut your mouth. Don't you compare 7.62 by 39 to the 300 blackout?
Yeah, I'll do that too. But like I said, I got one. It's just a fun gun. It's not my go-to-war gun.
No, absolutely not. It's just something to take to the range and have a good time with. I get it. Like, if you had like a dream gun, what would it be? I'm just curious because I'm not an AR guy, so I'm just kind of curious, like the thinking there.
It's a good question. I don't know.
Does it matter?
Doesn't matter. I mean, okay, all right, no, I got you. If I could choose my dream gun, it'd be a transferable belt fed for sure.
Nice.
I want a belt fed. If I could afford one, I would have one.
But you have to afford the ammo too. That's the kick.
Yeah.
That's how much is 308 these days? I haven't looked at it in a while. Like 80 cents a round, maybe more.
Yeah, buck around, just depending on what you buy.
Right. So if you just blew away 200 rounds of ammunition, that's like $160. And if I'm not mistaken, that cyclo crate's somewhere around 800 rounds a minute.
Yeah, depending on. I'd love to have a 240 Bravo, man.
That would be cool.
Now I have actually looked at affordable 1919 because you can get those with A1 like Israeli stocks, and then you can get them converted to 308. So I have looked at transferable 1919s at buying one, but man, it's still like $25,000. That's a lot of money for a gun without quick change barrels.
Right.
And I really when I can change barrels to get hot. So.
I talked to Machine Gun Bebe on Instagram. She runs the Las Vegas shooting range, machine gun range, and she has to constantly repair their 1919s or M60s just because these guns have got a ridiculous amount of rounds on it, right? So it's like a constant game of fixing these things, which is just something to keep in mind. I mean, you're buying a $20,000 transferable. How many rounds does it have in it, right? And what's the usable life of that gun? So you're buying a $20,000. No, it's not Battlefield. It's Machine Gun Vegas. So you're buying a $20,000 investment that you have no idea how many rounds are through it. Is it going to be a situation where you get it and you got to constantly fix it? Or is it actually going to be worth a $20,000 investment? That's always been my hang up. I had an opportunity to buy Thompson and a transferable M1. Like, this was 15 years ago. And that's just kind of like my thought process is just like, man, that's a lot of money. Is it going to be worth it? And I was just like, I didn't do it. And it would have been a hell of an investment compared to where it was, the price it was at like 15 years ago to today. But at the same time, it's like, I was looking at it like, if I got to change the barrel out on a Thompson, can I do it? Or do I got to pay somebody a lot of money to change that barrel out? Because believe it or not, kids, they do wear out.
One thing, I used to work at a store that rented machine guns. That's where some of my videos came from because I would do ads for them and stuff and would do machine gun videos. Anyway, M60 broke all the time. M60s break a lot.
Oh, yeah. The pigs. Oh, God, yeah.
They break a lot. So, I mean, I guess if I could choose, I would definitely want a 240 over a M60. I know it's a lot lighter, but.
Well, I mean, there's a reason we moved away from the M60s to the 240s. It wasn't because the M60s were awesome, right? There's a company out of, I think it's like Denmark, that they'll take your M60, strip it down to the frame and rebuild the whole damn thing. And that's not because the M60 is amazing. Like if I could get like a full auto RPD, the precursor to the RPK, I would. And I know for a fact that would be a pain in the ass to keep running and maintain. But I still want it. I still want the RPD, the raging porn demon, if you will.
I know it would be sick. I would love to have one. By the way, I made a silhouette of one and a technical for my match coming up, and we're going to shoot at it. So it's going to be pretty sick.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at the comments. Ohio, make sure nobody say anything crazy here. Anyway, now getting back to topics at hand. Now optics, like what do you generally like for optics? Just like LPVBOs, ACOGs, something a little bit more than that, something different than that?
For a fighting rifle?
Yeah. Everybody has their different opinions on it.
Yeah, I mean, so whatever you train with is going to work. If you want something bomb-proof, a prism optic like an ACOG or something is just awesome. I think if I would just tell somebody that wants to get into it, like, hey, I want to get a decent AR and I need a decent optic to get my foot into so I can compete and start taking classes. I would say get a 16-inch barrel or longer AR and get a 1-6 or 1-8 LPVO. If I was just having somebody get into it, and there's no right or wrong, but I would say probably
just like a primary arm, something affordable, like a 1-6 primary arm, something like that.
Yeah, and I tell you what's hot right now. And granted, like I said, the LPVOs aren't going to be as rugged as your prisms, but they don't need bad. And they're tough enough if you're not like spiking your rifle on top of the optic. But even like right now, if you go on Optics Planet, I don't give me any money. I don't even own one. They have the Vortex op mods that they do, and you can, I think they're like Strike Eagles or something, but you can get them in like a 1-6 or 1-8, like $280. That's a really good optic to get your foot in the door in the practice and stuff without spending $2,000 on a razor.
Now that's one thing that I don't like Optics Planet. I don't like Optics Planet because they do some pretty shady stuff. But at the same time, I do like when they have op mod stuff, just because it's always intelligent. Like their op mods are actually smart, right?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I don't have done stuff before that I was like, that sucks. Like you order stuff and it's not in stock. That's super annoying. I've done that before. I don't buy a lot of stuff from them, but I've had that happen before. I just canceled the order and ordered it somewhere else.
Well, I'm fighting with them right now because they had I wanted a night scope for reasons. Let's just put it that way, for reasons. It's traditional night scope, and they had one for like $500, but it was a demo model. So I bought it, got it, doesn't work. It's completely burnt out. I can't get them to like return my emails and stuff. So I got to call them, right? Like that's just kind of ridiculous to me that I just, like return my emails. Like Tufu's on here and he absolutely hates, he's a friend of mine who actually hates like Optics Planet. If you want to hear that guy curse in Chinese, mention Optics Planets. But yeah, I in no way, shape, or form want to promote those guys. For the most, I'd say my experience with Optics Planets has been probably like 80-20, 80% good, 20% like not so good. But at the same time, 20% is a $500 night scope that didn't work, right? So that's no bueno to me. But the inverse of that is true. Like I bought a Steiner was a laser aiming device, broke within 500. I'm sorry, broke within like 200 rounds. Contacted them, no problem. They switched it out, gave me my money back, all that stuff. So I've had good experience with them, but lately, I don't know, just like everything else is kind of going downhill as far as service wise. I've just noticed more and more problems with Optics Planning. I just won't do business with them anymore. But like I said, the op mod stuff, like I've noticed that when they do op mod stuff, that it's not just like gimmicky, it's actually intelligent, which is something I appreciate. It's not just like some gimmicks that they're just trying to. It's not like some gimmicks that they're just trying to like sell more stuff. It's actually something that makes sense that they're doing, which I appreciate.
At least on the Strike Eagles, I couldn't tell you what the difference is. I haven't looked that far into it. I just see they're like Cerakoted a bronze color and they're cheap.
Right.
So I don't know what
that's
they're
their
doing.
thing. That's their thing. They like to like bronze. If it's one of their op mods, they like to put the bronze on it, which I could care less. I'm going to spray paint it anyway. Bronze doesn't really work for my environment, so I'm probably going to put green spray paint to it anyway. But like I bring up the question there because one thing that I notice a lot is the tendency for people to think they need to get the greatest thing they can find like right off the bat. Like you're just getting into it, and you think you need to have like a Night Force and a Geisley like right off the bat. It's like slow down, start off with something a little bit more affordable. Put the extra money into like ammo and maybe a training class, and then upgrade from there. This is kind of like my thinking there. Like you don't need to get the most fantastic thing known to man right off the bat. Get something within your budget, run it for a few years, get some skills, and then as it breaks, upgrade to something better. Same thing with like the when you talk to guys in the trades, they get like cheap tools to begin with, and as they break stuff, they upgrade to better stuff. That's just kind of like my thinking. Is like you don't need to get like a Geisley Super Duty right off the bat. You're fine. Just people are going to call me a hypocrite here, but you're fine just getting like the Freedom Line AR with a barrel wrench so you can rebuild it because it sucks. Just how to spec it sucks, but it's cheap. It gets you started, and just get like a primary arms, whatever you're comfortable with, prismatic, whatever, and just whatever money you saved, just use that on ammo and training.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my philosophy, which people are probably going to say that's completely wrong. Get the best you can, but got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. There's always what if. You know what's not cool? Going in debt to look cool on Instagram.
That is a pet peeve of mine.
I mean, I got duals and night vision and this stuff too. It took me years to be able to buy all that stuff, and I'm not in debt. That drives me crazy too. I'd rather see the dude down the road with a freaking M&P factory rifle with a decent LPVO, and then when he shoots the barrel out, put a match barrel in it. It took me
as a break to upgrade.
Yep, actually, it took me longer than 10 years. My first AR I ever bought, I bought it in 2011. It was the M&P 15 Tactical. So back then, I don't think M&P had a Performance Center line in their rifles. Or at least I don't think they had an AR in the Performance Center, but they had a free-floated quad rail, and it had a better trigger. It was their tactical model. Anyway, I ran that rifle to death. I ran it, up until I think 2 years ago. I shot the barrel out, so it lasted a long time. It was actually a really good shooting rifle, and then it went from like 2 MOA to 5 MOA. So I
a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, I cannibalized it and made 2 different guns, but it was a great gun. It lasted a long time. But start with something like that, get a decent optic, and just rock it.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of you've got your training rifle and then your go-to rifle, which are set up the same. So like, for example, I got a 20-inch Colt. You know, that's my go-to. Like if something was to pop off, that's what I'm grabbing. But I also got a 20-inch PSA gun. That's what I put the majority of my rounds through. They're set up the same optics, same controls, all that stuff, so that I'm putting all my rounds on the crappy one. So if something does kick off, my go-to rifle is fresh as the daisy. You know, I'm familiar with it. I know how it feels, but I'm keeping the rounds off it so that, God forbid, something happens, I've got a fresh rifle ready to go for a very, very long time. You know, that's just kind of like my thinking. I don't really see the point of just having one gun when I can afford to have two. You know,
Yep.
keep all my rounds off the good stuff. You know, it's sort of like you know, you've got the good china for when company comes over, and then you got the crappy, you know, the crappy dishes. You got the Cool Whip bowls. You know, the PSA is the Cool Whip bowls I'm going to eat cereal and spaghetti out of.
No, I know. I got cheap guns too. Some of them are just plankers and others cleaners, but for the most part, I really do just focus on competing and doing serious stuff with one gun.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just, I mean, what's that? There's like an old quote from Bruce Lee. You know, don't fear the man that's practiced 1,000 kicks one time. Fear the man that's practiced one kick 1,000 times, right? So the same thing. If you just have the same gun that you're using all the time, you're gonna get pretty good with it.
Yep.
Here we go, James. Adios, muchacho. Anyway. But yeah, it's just everybody's different. Everybody has different philosophies and all that stuff. Like I see people get so wrapped around the axle on details, like, well, a 12.5 barrel versus a 14.5 versus 16. When in actuality, it doesn't really matter, right? Like just for a general purpose, you know, carbine or rifle, those details don't matter as much as you think. Like I run a 20-inch just because I want the velocity. That's it. And I'm used to it to where I can use it in close quarters. I could use it at distance, you know. But the thing I always say is that 20-inch could do everything the 12.5 can do, but the 12.5 can't do everything the 20-inch does. So to me, it makes sense to run a 20. But if you don't like a 20, you want to run the 14.5, the 12.5. Jesus loves you. Go run it, right? Like I'm not going to argue with you.
It's okay to like different stuff. I run a 20-inch gun too, and I thought this was really interesting. I was checking numbers the other day, and I run a 100-yard zero with my 2 to 10, and my velocity is about 3,300 feet per second with a 55 grain FMJ. So with 100-yard zero, I am holding about 0.9 mils at 300 yards. That is roughly a 10-inch drop at 300. So here's what's kind of cool. It depends on the target size, but if the target's big, like a silhouette, I don't even have to hold over at 300 to make a hit. I just aim at it and hit it. Might be a little low, but and people don't understand what danger space is and how important it is, because in real combat, and I've never been in combat, okay? Like I haven't. I trained for it, but I wasn't in combat. But Jimmy has, and he's taught me a lot. And in combat, you don't always know how far away everybody is.
No.
So do you have time, if somebody exposes himself for a half second, to range them and get a good shot? If you have a gun that shoots flat and you can just point your crosshair at them and squeeze and maybe get a hit or hit a little under them and skip it into them, that's better than having a gun with a real short danger space. And basically your range estimation has to be dead on. Like you have to be on your game, knowing how far away the target is, so you can use your reticle to make your hits. And now that being said, when we're shooting matches, it's the opposite of real life, where in matches we usually know how far away the targets are, but we don't know how big they are. But in combat, you know how big the target is because the man's roughly 18 inches shoulder to shoulder, but we don't know how far away he is, right? So it's one of those things that if you practice with whatever short gun you have, like we just said, you can get good with it if you learn your holds, but you still need to be good at range estimation. And that's where a longer gun with faster muzzle velocity cheats and gives you a longer danger space. So basically your arc of travel is just a little flatter. I know you know that, but just for the chat. That's why I choose to
for
run
the uninitiated.
It just makes my job easier to make hits under stress, really.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I always, when it's a 5.56 gun, I put a 50-yard zero on it, just because 50-yard zero, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, pretty much from 50 to or 25 to 200 to 250, all you got to do is just kind of hold right here, and you'll probably hit the dude, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it depends
for the
on
most
barrel
part.
length stuff, but
Yeah.
I actually really like a 50-yard zero. When I was on SRT, I ran a 50-yard zero all the time. But to be fair, I was running a red dot with no magnification because my scope sucks, and that's all they would let me have. So, but I think for that, a 50 makes a lot of sense because I wasn't positively IDing people past 200 when my scope crossed. But I also regularly took that rifle out to our local long range where I would shoot bolt guns out to 1,000 yards. And I would take my duty carbine and I would, with my 50-yard zero, and I would shoot it out to 400 yards and hit 12-inch plates. And I would learn my holds. So you can do it, just not ideal.
Well, the guy that took fourth place, the man that we cannot mention, he ran that with a 14.5 BCM Jack rifle, which that was like my dream gun 15 years ago, the Jack rifle. So I took notice. But he's running with a 14.5 and a ACOG with I think a 4-power with like a BDC, and he cleared the orange course, which is the distance course, like quicker than shit, just because he knew his holds, right? Like he's got the BDC there. So I don't know what kind of zero. Probably if it's an ACOG, he probably zeroed it at like 100 just for the BDC. But a 14.5 with a 4-power ACOG and a man that knows how to use it, cleared out to 5. I think 550 was the longest one on orange. No problem. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big advocate of the 20-inch barrel just for the velocity. Like you said, you've got better penetration and you got a flatter shooting gun. So you can make up for a lot of your inefficiencies with range estimation just by having that velocity and a flatter shooting gun. But you don't necessarily need it for distance. I mean, you can touch out to 600 yards easily with a 16-inch gun.
Well, you'll like this. I'm a long range guy. I built a 223 bolt gun with a 24-inch barrel, and I'm running 75 grain. I hand load for my bolt guns.
Right.
75 grain Hornady ELD. So 75 grain 223 bullet, and I took it out to our local 1,000-yard range and was shooting 12-inch plate with it without a spotter.
Yeah, I mean, when I joined the Marine Corps, what's that?
It's only going 2850 that hand load, and it's like
really?
going rock that range. Yeah, but I wanted to prove that you could do it. My goal actually this year is to take my 20-inch AR out and do the same thing with factory ammo. I'm going to need a spotter for it though, for sure, but I want to do it this year.
Yeah, I mean, when I joined the Marine Corps, it was like we were still using the A2s with iron sights, no optics at all. So we were punching even that and these were like shot out Colts. These were like Colts at the end of their usable life. And we were pushing that out to 500 yards with irons, right? So it's just amazing. Like when we got the A4s, that they were FN A4s, trying to remember, with the ACOGs, and we went from being used to like 4 to 5 MOA shot out Colts with iron sights to the A4s, which are probably holding close to 2 MOA with an ACOG. We were just amazing with it. Like, just because it was just kind of like we trained with ankle weights and then we took the ankle weights off and boy, could we run. So we when we first got them in limited numbers and we dispersed them to like a DMR type role to begin with until we got more. And I remember we went out, the guys that got them, I was one of the guys that got them. And we went out to our snipers, our state platoon, to their range, and they were just going to show us like how to hit at distance. With that BDC on there, I was hitting like day one, 600 yards, no problem. So it's just, if you've got a BDC, whether you like a prismatic or you like an LPVO and you know how to use it, you can easily hit out to 600. And you don't need fancy shit is the point I'm making. Like, having the fanciest stuff around is not nearly as important as just having a gun that you know how to use. Oh, Nam just popped in. What are you saying there, Nam? Coy and I were able to make consistent. It's 400-yard target with that fin. Yeah, I mean, skill beats gear any day. If you know how to run your gun, that's so much more important than anything that you can buy. You can buy the fanciest gun known to man, but if you don't know how to run it, it's absolutely useless.
Yep.
But I'm a big now. Again, my experience in the Marine Corps with the 20 years ago. I'm not trying to rest on my laurels with the ACOG. I've beat the shit out of ACOGs. I've literally been blown up with an ACOG to where it spider cracked the lens and it was still fine. Like I ran that thing like 2 weeks with like a spider crack through it, and it was just still amazing. So I will recommend the ACOG any day of the week, just based on that. You're giving up a little bit of your ability to get finer detail out at distance, since it's not cranking up to 6, but at the same time, that thing will outlast you.
Yeah.
They're amazing piece of equipment.
So I'm not going to spend the money on them, but I would love to have a 6-power ACOG with a top RMR. I think that would be a super sick setup, especially for like my LSW build that I'm working on. But
yeah,
it's like thousands of dollars. I can't remember what I priced them at. It was like $3,000 or something, and I was like,
yeah, they're not cheap.
So anyway, what I'll do is I think I'm going to buy one of those primary arms 5X prisms and do the hero mod that 434 makes to do a RMR or acro cut on top of the 5X prisms. It's basically a poor man's ACOG that's not as good, but I think I'm going to do one just for one of my fun guns.
I've had a couple of the primary arms prismatics. I've had a 1, 2, and a couple 3 powers, and durability is my only complaint. Like as far as the ACSS reticle, I'm very happy with those. But I've had, I think I've had 5 of them, and I've had one of them like flat out break, and I've had another one where the aluminum just went out. So that's like my only concern. It's just you're paying like right around $250 for them. It's been a while, so like $400 for the 5 power. Wow, so you're paying that much money, and I would just say just save up a little bit more and get, again, you don't want to spend like thousands of dollars for an ACOG. I get it.
I saw one break last weekend too. Yep.
Oop, adios there, M26 Stolen Valor. This is my life, man. This is my life on the internet. People see my name and they come a running. It's hilarious. But like one thing I thought was like extremely funny is I bought I bought the primary arms prismatics just to try out, and I've had people just completely like telling me how great they are, and they are not bad for the money. But as soon as I break it, I don't want it anymore. If I can break something, I don't want it no more. Like I don't care what kind of value it is. If I can break it, just doing the use I'm using it, I'm not interested anymore.
When Delta 34 did a video on one, he said, and I can't remember what he said you should swap it out with, but he said the actual mounts that they come with are the weak point, and they break really.
Yeah, they're terrible.
With what do you say to swap it out with a import mount or something? I can't remember. Anyway,
it depends on the model. Like for example, the older prismatics they used, the older primary arms prismatics, they use like micro mounts. So you could switch those out. They're dime a dozen. But the more current ones are mini mounts. So if you got a Trigicon mini mount, it works and it takes away a failure point. But the failure points I was experiencing were with the unit itself. Like the illumination stopped working on one, and another one, I don't know what happened. Like I was trying to, like it just started wandering. The zero just started wandering, and like that was doing nothing. Right?
I can't remember.
How did ghost? You got ghosts in your house? Like I don't know. You have a ghost that's haunted. But that's just my observation. Is people say they're a great value, and I don't disagree with that statement. But once I break something, I don't want it no more. I'd rather just save the money up to get whatever the upgrade is. That's just me.
Jimmy breaks a lot of stuff. Usually,
I've seen how he uses his shit. I believe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, he breaks stuff all the time. Man, I tell you what, I freaking scratched the lens on my Trigicon Credo at Ridge Racer. When we were in yellow, I was running from the like chicken coop area to the house. And
Mhm.
I don't know how it happened. A bunch of mud must have flew off my boot, went up over my head, and went right down in my lens when I was running. I mean, like that thick. It was like 2 inches of soupy mud right in my lens. So I took a freaking microfiber cloth and just scooped it out, and the sand scratched my coating. I was like, I mean,
That's
it is what it is.
terrible.
If you look through it, you can't see it, but just to look at the lens, it looks all scratched up. And
Just to know it's there is annoying.
yeah, and I mean, like, there's more expensive scopes, but still, it's like $1,000 scope, you know?
Yeah. I mean, can they fix that? I mean, can you send it in for like warranty repair, that sort of thing?
I don't
I don't know
know.
how they would fix a scratch scope, but it's something to look into.
It-
I mean, they should be able to do it for a certain amount of money.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they could, but I ain't that worried about it. It's just a bummer that I scratched it.
Yeah. Now, what's your opinion? Now, you mentioned you're building a light support weapon. What's your theory on those? Like, what's your viewpoint?
We don't have belt feds easily available, so potentially fill the role of like an automatic rifleman with an FRT.
Yeah,
Potentially,
I agree with
in theory,
that.
basically like American RPK.
Oh, trust me, you're preaching to the choir, but that's like the majority of my content for June is a series on light support weapons, just because I'm a big proponent of it. You know, the ARPK setup I think is amazing for the prepared citizen, just because we can't have belt feds, and especially with things like the FRT trigger. I think that would shine, but you know, I think there's a misconception on what exactly the light support weapon is. Like, I just see guys putting bipods on like a 20-inch, like heavy profile barrel, and like, all right, I got a light support weapon. Oh, look at this one. This one's beautiful. M26 Limmergate is a sex offender. Yes, you got to love my fan club. Can't have anything nice, can we? But anyway, so you can't just slap like a set of bipods on like a 20-inch, heavy barrel gun, and now you've got it. You're filling that role. That rate of fire that you should be pushing out of that gun's going to destroy even a heavy barrel. That's just kind of my philosophy on it. I mean, if you're going to go that route, you should be getting a heavy barrel.
You're beating me up because I'm that guy, and you're absolutely right. I 100% agree with you. I actually bought one of the small team supply solid bull barrels that is a chrome line in a 24-inch with a rifle length gas.
They got those back in stock. Like when I built my first AR-RPK, which is sitting over there in the corner now. I got to ship it back to Quentin, my buddy, if you're watching. Thanks for letting me borrow it for content. But I couldn't. They were out of them. They were sold out. And the only thing I could find was a nitrided one. It was a 24-inch bull barrel, which was the same profile as there, but it was nitride instead of chrome line. And it's been great. Like I love it, but it's nitrided. You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather have the chrome line just because I think that's going to last a little bit longer with, that kind of firing schedule.
If you ever do want to buy one from them, email them, because I went on his website and it said back order, like they're out of stock back order, and I emailed him and said, "Hey, when is your barrels going to be back in stock?" And he's like, "Oh crap, I forgot to update the website. I got like 50 in stock or something like that." So
yeah,
I think they're in stock a lot of times. He said he just machined a bunch of them. But anyway, I bought one. I've been running it pretty hard. And one guy in here said FRPs suck with a super safety. Super safeties are pretty cool too.
yeah.
But
there's so much of that now. Like when I built mine, the only option you had was the binary trigger, which I'm not a fan of the binary. But now you got like super safety, you got the force reset, stuff like that, and it looks like they're going to make them legal, which is awesome. But at the same time, it doesn't take. All it takes is like a new president, and they just stroke their pen, and now the FRT is illegal. And those things ain't cheap. What are they like $600-700 or something like that?
I don't know. They used to be.
That's a lot of money.
So there's a few different things. I have a couple of opinions on this. I never originally wanted to buy an FRT because they weren't 3-position. It was just safe and FRT, and that was a turnoff. And then you have binaries, which are cool. but they got their own court too, so I didn't really like that. And then super safeties came out. Now I know there's 3-position FRTs now, but super safeties come out and they're cool too. The one thing I don't like about super safeties though is that the safety one safe sticks towards you. So if you're trying to carry
wow.
if you're trying to carry it patrol rifle style, it's a crossbar safety, and if it pushes up against your kit, it'll come safe, and it'll go on either FR semi-auto or super safe or semi-auto. So that sucks, you know. And one thing I thought
that's
about, like,
not ideal. No.
How would you implement that in real life? I almost wonder, and this is just me thinking outside the box, you know, would it almost be safer to like carry that thing on a closed
condition
bolt
3? Yeah.
And just leave it on like FRT. I don't know. You know, I would be more concerned about accidentally shooting yourself, but
I mean, that's what we used to do with the saws back in the day when we had the M249 saws. We just carried them condition 3, you know, round on the tray and bolt forward, so that, you know, you'd have to like really be an idiot to have a mistake when you're carried like that. But again, I know, I you know, being an open bolt machine gun with a sketchy sear, I just wasn't comfortable with you know, carrying that thing condition 1 with the bolt back. I'd rather just take that half a second that I need to rack it, you know, just to make sure I'm not like smoking my guys. But you know, that's definitely something to think about. But you know, the whole thing is, for me, the light support weapon, again, to fill that role, and that's what my videos in June are going to be about, is, you know, it's a, you know, the term is force multiplier. So if you've got somebody with that, you're increasing their combat capability to more than just a dude with an AR. And the point that I've heard before, and I think is an interesting point, how many dudes with ARs is it going to take down like an AMRAP, right? Like you get rolled with like an armored vehicle and you got like 12 dudes with ARs. That's a bad day. Now, I'm not saying like having that guy with the AR RPK in your squad is going to make that much of a difference against an armored vehicle, but it is more firepower, you know, and it's going to give you a little bit more advantage, which I think is incredible. And the AR RPK design, I think, is a smart move, because if you've got something bad kick off, whatever your favorite doomsday scenario is, and everybody in the neighborhood has to get together, if 17 people show up to protect the neighborhood, I guarantee 16 of them have ARs. You know what I mean? So having an AR RPK, you have the ability to feed it magazines organic to your neighborhood. You can fix it with, you know, the parts from other ARs. I just think it's a smart move, me personally. But like I have, unfortunately, me being an old fat guy, I can't hump the AR RPK. That's a heavy thing. That's a heavy bitch. So
I'm thinking about running mine this year in some competitions, just to be a little bit more intimate with it and learn it, you know, because I'll have more input on it once I run it for a while. I think my biggest concern with the whole concept of having like an LSW, like support weapon thing, is just running out of ammunition and no resupply.
And that's something that me and Whiskey Hotel are talking about. Is I think that if you have that weapon, you should be carrying a minimum of 10 40-round magazines, minimum. You know, and then you should have somebody else around you carrying more magazines for you so you can feed it. You know, like I can pull out I have a copy of the 6-5, which is the Marine Corps Infantry Manual. And if you look it up, automatic rifleman, it says that is your priority. You protect that guy with everything you got, because that's your firepower. If you have to give that guy your ammo, you give that guy your ammo. So I think it's a really important thing to note that if you're going to incorporate like a light support weapon into your arsenal, understand that's not an individual weapon. You know, you're not running that by yourself. That is something that you need to run within a team, because it's heavy, it's cumbersome. You know, you will not be doing yourself any favors trying to run a light support weapon, you know, Lone Ranger style. It's just not a good idea. Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, if I would have to put a squad together, my most fit guy is going to carry that thing, and he's going to carry like 250 to 1,000 rounds on him.
Yeah, like I have one.
Hope the guns
if I have one, I'm going to find like, you know, the corn-fed white boy that can carry anything. Like, all right, you carry this. My old fat ass will carry this. I'll carry some extra mags for you.
I'm old and broken now too, man. I'm lucky just to lug around my rifle and kit. So yeah,
Oh
I'll
yeah.
pass it off to somebody else.
I made this for you. Do good things with it.
There's nothing wrong with building out a second rifle kit for a friend.
Oh no, absolutely not. Humping a saw, let alone a 240, is a different level of being a rifleman. Now that's an interesting point. That's something I hear all the time. So my preferred setup is a AKM, a 7.62 by 39 AK, right? And that's based solely on my experience with 5.56 in combat, like not dropping dudes. Like I've hit dudes like multiple times with 5.56, and they're still trying to kill me. They're still trying to fight. So like I prefer the 30 caliber, something that hits a little bit harder, bigger bullet. But since I can't carry the 308 anymore, I like the 7.62 by 39. So people always come at me, well, just carry 308. It's like you don't understand how heavy that loadout is until you've had to carry it. So that's an important point. Is just you carry what you can carry. Having something like this, a ridiculous 308 setup, like a battle rifle with 8 mags, you ain't moving very far very fast. That just ain't happening.
This makes people mad to hear this. Like they will straight up argue, and I'm not gonna argue with anybody. You can believe whatever you want, but
Right, exactly.
the Whiskey Hotel Team Ruck competition where you're rucking 4 miles and just rucks, shooting 6 stages, doing side tasks, and then you're doing 9 miles in the day.
Right.
You can run pretty much whatever rifle you want. Battle rifle cartridges never do well.
No, never. That's a heavy loadout.
We're shooting in between point blank and 550 yards too. And personally, I don't think there's any advantage running a heavy cartridge 500 and in. If I lived out west or somewhere where we could shoot farther, then would make sense to have some guys running AR-10s because you can shoot farther, and it'll cut. But I'm telling you, we've done quite a few now, and the guys that run AR-10s don't do well. And people will be like, "Hey, can I run this? Will it be like this unfair advantage for guys that are running AR-15?" No, you can run whatever you want. It's actually a disadvantage for you, and people want to argue. I'm like, I don't care. Run. We'll see how you do.
Yeah, my whole point of that is just, I like the heavier 7.62 by 39 just because it hits harder. It's limited by range. That's a round that shines at 300 yards. 350, 400, you could push it there, but you're going to be struggling. And beyond that, it's hopes and dreams. People like to argue with me about that too, but I like it just because it hits harder, and it could, especially like when we were in urban fighting, that's that kind of 30, that a 30 caliber cuts through barricades pretty well. That's why I like it. But at the same time, I understand logistics, right? I understand long-term situation. 7.62 by 39 is not ideal. But the point is, people like to argue with me about like how they're just going to run like a 308 setup. It's like, no, you're not. Like you're not going to be able to run 8 magazines of 308. Like it's not going to happen.
People can argue back and forth. If you look at Ukraine and stuff like that now, artillery dominates. You always see video drones because they have cameras and people see that. And yeah, those are a real thing and they're dangerous, but all you need is a jammer pack. But what kills a lot of people is artillery. And then I've listened to a couple interviews from guys over there fighting on both sides, and they'll tell you the rifles are just like PDWs to them.
Right.
They just move around and do recon, and their artillery kills people. I mean, yeah, they get in gunfights, but in the end, I guess
the trenches systems,
yeah, it doesn't really matter what it is when your artillery is doing all the work. I don't know,
it
but
doesn't.
personally, I want the capability to be able to shoot stuff as far as I can see it. But does it really matter in the end? I don't know. Probably not.
Again, I agree with you 100%. I mean, that's what made the Marine Corps like special for decades. The ability to hit further out. I mean, you could bring up like Bellow Wood, where the Germans could hit like 600 yards, and the Marines are hitting like 800 yards with their Springfield 1903s and all that stuff. Even in my experience in Fallujah, we knew that the AK's max range for 7.62 by 39 was 400 yards. So we try to like engage at 500 yards. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like we try to engage them further out because we know we have the advantage. So I get that 100%. But, you know, my thing is the majority of the shots that I've seen in combat, again, 20 years ago, I'm not trying to say like I know everything, but
You
my
know,
experience 20 years ago was like the majority of the shots were like 200 yards and in. That was like the majority. But again, that was urban fighting. That's the caveat.
real quick, I just want to stop you. I know you're saying that because people on the internet suck, but your experience is relevant. Just because it happened 20 years ago, it was still urban fighting.
Yeah.
You know, so no, your experience is relevant, man. I want I want to hear what you have to say. You don't have to. I'm just saying you don't have to say that.
Well, I say it because I believe it. You know, like when I was doing the Ridge Racer with the man that can't be named, you know, he's relevant. He's training guys that are going to war, and just talking to him about some of the latest trends, innovations, things like that. Like I have like what, you know, like he's talking about like you know, thermals and oh, here he is again, stolen valor. Where are you at? I don't think that's him. Anyway, like he's talking about like thermals and he's talking about you know, drone use, things like that. Like completely over my head. I'm a caveman, right? Like
Yeah.
we got PEC 2s in 2002. We were
Yeah.
like monkeys looking at fire when we realized it was an infrared laser, right? Like I'll tell that story here in a minute, but you know, when I say it's not relevant, it's just like, you know, me trying to pretend like I know what I'm talking about in modern combat when I was like 20 years ago is ridiculous. Like that'd be like somebody from Desert Storm talking to somebody in Vietnam. You know? What worked in Vietnam probably just wouldn't work in Desert Storm, just like the things they did in Desert Storm weren't going to work in Fallujah. And the stuff they're doing now in Ukraine is completely different than what I did in Fallujah. Yeah, the environment's still the same. You know, urban fighting is urban fighting, but you know, the tactics they're using, the equipment they're using, you know, the detection methods they're using, completely foreign to me. I don't have any idea how that shit works. Like I was talking to the man that can't be named. He was talking about like the Ukrainians 3D printing their own drones, and they're taking out like, you know, they're taking out tanks with a $20 drone with a grenade strapped to it. That is ingenious, right? Completely not in my realm. But as far as like, what's that?
Everybody focuses on the drones because, like I said, we see a lot of video of that.
Oh yeah, we got the footage.
I don't necessarily think drones are that scary. Hear me out, because we have the capability to jam all the ones that scare me, and I've talked to Jimmy about this, and we agree, is wire-guided stuff is scary. Wire-guided missiles and drones is scary because you can't jam those. You got to shoot them down. But we have technology now. I mean, I'm not saying to underestimate your near peer adversary at all. War sucks, but I'm just saying, just the cheap drones. I don't think if I was active right now or something like that, it would be that scary because we'll just have a dude with a jammer pack on jamming them all.
Yeah, and that's one of the interesting things that the man that shall not be named talked about was what they're seeing, especially in Ukraine, is going back to old technology. You know, they're going back to wired communications instead of radios because the jammer pack jams everything. Going back to you can't use your GPS. You're going back to maps and protractors. You know, everything that's old is now new, just because we're jamming for the drone use. But like I talked to, he goes by combat accountant. He was over in Ukraine as a trainer. You know, he's army. He was in the army in the invasion. He went to Iraq to fight ISIS with the Kurds. A lot of combat experience, and he went to Ukraine to help train them. And you know, he describes like just the sheer volume of artillery that he had to experience. Like it is terrifying. Like the indirect fire, the indirect fire I had to deal with, like 1s and 2s. You know, a couple rocket attacks, a couple mortar attacks. He's talking about like an entire night of an artillery battery hammering you. Like that would drive me insane. But that's what the Russians do best is indirect fire.
If there's any history nerds in here, what is it in World War I? Didn't they say like artillery was like 60% of the casualties of the war or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
And like another big portion was sickness. You know what I mean? Like guys getting sick from just sitting in the trenches all the time.
There's a great Christ, what was it? It was a documentary that came out a few years ago. I want to say it came out 2017. You know, the 100-year anniversary of 1917, all that, where they took interviews from like the 60s and 70s of the guys that were in World War I before they passed, and they overplayed it with like photos, and just hearing those guys describe like the conditions they had to survive. Like one guy described the ground was so loose from all the artillery that it was basically quicksand, right? So they had to put like pallets down that you walked on, and you didn't go off the pallets. He said one guy went off the pallets and he was basically stuck up to his chest in mud, and they had no way to get him. The guy died from mud. You know, he's like, all night long we had to listen to this guy slowly slink into the mud, and there was literally nothing we could do to help him. And I'm just, you think about that compared to like my experience. My experience with a cakewalk compared to that, because I never had to deal with mud. Even the mud was killing dudes.
I shoot all the time in matches and trainings. I shoot all the time in the rain and the mud. Ridge Racer freaking sucked because we had that mud going on. The amount of mud, it's not comparable to the stuff we were just talking about, but you can still learn lessons from it, like keeping your lens from fogging.
Yeah.
Or keeping heavy rain and mud on your lens so you can see. Using binos to scan and keeping everything else dry until you need that rifle. There's all kinds of stuff you can learn by playing these games.
And that's what I learned right away. Is my first course was orange, so that was when we had the heaviest rain. It like at 10 o'clock, the heavens just opened up and just poured on us, right? So when I went to go do the distance course, my lenses on my ACOG were just so, they were just like so saturated, and my body was just so saturated with water. I had no way to clean my lenses off. You know what I mean? Like my shirt, I even went so far, you can see it in the video. Nam was the RO on that one. I unloaded, showed clear just so I could reach down as far down into my shirt to get out my undershirt, just hoping to find something dry enough to like clean my lens off. And I couldn't do it. I was just so all I was doing just pushing the water around on my lens. And then when I went to go look through the ACOG, the water was distorting the reticle so much I couldn't use it past 200.
Yep.
Yeah, I made it out to like 200, and then I was done. Like I tried to go to 3, and it's like I can't even see. Like,
so one thing I did, I had a ton of lens cloth on me. I actually have. Yeah, I can grab one here. Hold on a second.
Yeah. So Anthony, I think you're trying to suggest that I am lying. You can Google my name, and you can find out my entire story. Just Google it. I'm not gonna entertain you. What do you got there?
There's like little attached lens cloths that I like. I run these on my helmet for night vision, and then I also run. I keep two of these in my chest rig, one attached to my GP pouch, my general purpose pouch, and then one on my helmet and one in my bag if I'm running a helmet. But you just pull it out, it stays attached, and it's a microfiber cloth. So I had two of these on me for Ridge Racer. I also had dry, like a cotton shirt I cut up, and I kept that in my GP pouch. And then I did my very best to keep it dry all day. And you know how hard it was raining. I wore an army poncho, like a BU army.
Yeah, I was making fun of you and Coy. I was like, "Here's the poncho gang, nerds." And you guys did the best of everybody.
I was having fun with it. It was a game. I was peer pressuring people into face camo and stuff, and I camoed up for the shoot. But I wore my rain poncho the whole match until I actually shot. And what I did is I pulled it off and shoved it in my day pack. I got a little tiny day pack I carry, and I would shoot the stage and I'd throw it back on. And that was a huge benefit for me to shoot that match so I could see. And my yellow course got cut off short, but if you look, you'll see me pulling out my thing because I couldn't see because I had so much rain in my lens. And I just wipe out some heavy rain and I could shoot again. But yeah, people don't unless they get out and train and try it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the majority of my experience with ACOGs, I've never had that problem. I've never had like that amount of rain because I've never done anything like jungle warfare. There's jungle warfare centers in Hawaii and Okinawa. Those guys would probably have experienced that, but I've never had that. So until I did that event, I had no idea to even consider that. And unfortunately, they don't make lens caps for ACOGs. They make the bikinis and the
Right.
like neoprene ones. I think I got a neoprene one in a box somewhere. So I'm definitely gonna, if I do this again, I'm bringing the neoprene. I'm bringing some sort of microfiber in a bag just for that very purpose. Which is, again, you learn. That's the beauty of the events like these is they teach you lessons that you can learn from. Now I know I keep microcloth in a bag in my gear just so that if I'm in heavy rain, I can at least clean my optics off.
I'm gonna get me, if I do something different, I'm not gonna change my kit or anything, but I'm definitely gonna get me a waterproof pouch for my phone. I didn't do that, and when we were running through that one trench on yellow where the water
Oh
was like up
yeah.
here, I almost fell because with my exoskeleton, I can jog, but my balance sucks now. So when I was jogging through there, I hit something and almost fell down, and I started laughing because I was like, "Man, my phone was almost toast," and I just had it in my front pocket, So I definitely need to get a front or yeah, I see somebody said a simple Ziploc, but they tear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some told me to get a Magpul DACA pouch, whatever the.
I've got plenty of those. They're not bad, but they're not 100% waterproof. Like I wouldn't want to submerge it.
Okay. So I need to get something that's waterproof though. If I and in real life, probably gonna leave my phone at home. I wanted it
Well,
so
what
I
we
could
used
take.
to do, I came from a boat company. That's what we used to do, boat raiders. So we take a simple Ziploc and duct tape, burgers tape. So you just layer it with duct tape. And then the only thing you got to worry about is tearing at the Ziploc. The rest of the bag will be fine.
Okay, that makes sense. That's a
Yeah.
good idea.
So it's just and then what you do with it to make sure that the zipper holds is you roll it. So you overlay the duct tape onto the plastic, and then when you
Okay.
have your stuff loaded in, you just roll it, and then you just keep it secured with like a rubber band or something like that. That just helps the Ziploc from being. Oh, I eat homeless meat. I hope hop on meat. My fans are back again. This is my life, man. It's awesome.
Give
This
me
this is my
30 seconds.
life.
Give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I drink a pot of coffee sitting here talking to you.
No, I'll entertain the crowd. Can you put a Ziploc in a Magpul? What do you mean by that? Like the Magpul Darka pouch, and then you put it. Yeah, I mean you could do whatever you want. I'm just saying, like the Magpul alone is just. I wouldn't want to submerge it in water. I mean it'll probably be like 80% good, but you're still going to get water seepage in. That's just my experience. I've got like 10 of those things now. I use them for ammo. I am not the man. Somebody said I'm the man. I'm not. I'm an old fat guy. Tactical lip gloss reload. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm sure it's an interesting point, though. Lucky with our service rifle. So that's kind of a loaded question or a loaded statement. So we were lucky in that we were able to upgrade to the FN. Like for me, my personal experience, we were able to upgrade from the Colt A2s to the FN A4s right before Fallujah. So it was nice to go into Fallujah with brand spanking new rifles that were not shot out yet and equipment that actually worked. Now, keep in mind, I was in the Poor Corps. So when I say the Poor Corps, like we were coming off the we were coming off the Clinton budget cuts in the military. I had to buy my own magazine, stuff like that. So to go into a hot zone like Fallujah with brand new gear was absolutely amazing. Want to get some cheeseburgers? Dude, I love cheeseburgers. Like I'm telling you, next time I'm in town, you are going to take me to the best cheeseburger place you got. Mr. Mustache. Oh, lip gloss. Okay. So they're making fun of you because you're putting lip gloss on. Yeah. Lip balm.
Like freaking chopstick, man. Don't make fun of. Hey, you know what? Have you ever had to be in the field for like a day and you're in the sun and it's super windy and you forget your chapstick? That's like the worst thing ever. I got chapstick hidden in my kit everywhere and all kinds of stuff. I'm probably addicted to it. It's all right. My lips aren't
I've
chapped.
never had that. I've never like I don't know. They made us carry chapstick, and I'd never used it once. It was never an issue. Like
It's funny. when I was in, I never used it either, and now I use it all the time.
Yeah, it just wasn't a thing for me. I mean, we when we did the boats particularly, we'd be out on the water all day. Like we'd spend like a whole day on the water, just doing boat formations, boat training, things like that. And I never wore sunscreen. I never wore chapsticks, none of that stuff. I'm not saying I didn't get sunburn. I didn't get chapped lips. It just wasn't something I really thought about. I just kept just going. But it's just interesting. Like going back to what we were saying about doing events like this and figuring out like the weak points of your gear and your equipment. And I think you can only really understand that by going through one of these events. That's why I like them so much, is because you could have the greatest setup in the world, but until you start running it in adverse conditions, then you start figuring out, this does not work.
Yep. We're also not the guys that if it starts raining, we're not going to show up. Like, we're going,
Well, that's one thing I was talking to D34 about, is like when people start arguing with him about the score, like scoring. And he just kind of has to explain that's not the point of this event. Like, yeah, it'd be nice to get like number one, get the top 5 slots, whatever. But the point of this is not to like, game it to get the points. The point of this is to do an event that shows you the weak points in your gear and gives you like something that you can work on for next time. That's one thing I found interesting, is like talking to him. He's like, yeah, I got these guys arguing with me about their points. It's like, who gives a shit about the points? Like, what do you get by getting 5 more points?
I tried to win that, but I ran my real, like the kit and the I run all the time in classes and training events. If I wanted to game it, and I guess it's not necessarily gaming it, but if I would, to me, rebuilding my kit to do good at a match is gaming it. So I should just put that out there. But if I wanted to game it, I think a 14.5 with a 1-6 and like a 3 placard magazine rig and super lightweight, that'd be the way to go. But that's not the point of that match.
Yeah, the point's to use your gear and see how it works, and find the holes in the arm, the chinks in the arm, if you will. And again, this go around, I was a weak body. I just wasn't in the physical shape that I wanted to be to run like plates and stuff like that. But next go around, I want to be in. I'm working on it. As much as the internet doesn't believe me, I'm trying to get back in shape any way I can, so that when I do this event next time, I'm in better shape, and I want to run plates, and I want to run like an actual combat loadout, not just some like slick down thing to have the bare minimum.
It's good to be hard on yourself.
I want to do it with an AKM though. I want to run an AKM just for fun. So that's honestly what I'm going to run if some shit pops off.
I've been trying to catch up on like what you're into and stuff like that. And dude, that would be super cool if that's your rifle. Plus, it's just fun. You can just run whatever, But I think that'd be sick if you ran an AK.
Yeah, I want to run an AKM for sure. I ran it with the 74 just because that's what's relevant to like Ukraine. That's what you're seeing in Ukraine. 5.45 guns, right? Yes, people like to bring up like, well, they're using a bunch of ARs now. That's because we gave them a couple $2 billion in, weaponry. They're using whatever they can, right? But at the same time, there's still AK-74s being used by the Russians. It's still relevant. So I ran the 74 this time for no other reason than it's a relevant rifle for what's going on. But next time, I definitely want to carry it. I want to run the AKM, the 7.62x39. I think it's going to be fun just to see how it does on the orange course, if nothing else. Because I've only me personally, I pushed 7.62x39 out to like 300 yards max. And there's dudes on the internet who I won't name names who will push them out to like 700 yards just to sell something. I think that's not something you can routinely do. Not with that round. Anyway.
My Bolt 223 1,000 on a 12-inch plate, is it ideal? Can a regular person do that? Probably not. It's because I do it all the time.
Yeah, it's just 7.62x39 is not ideal past 400 yards. It just isn't. It's not in the nature. No, you could push it out. You could push it out further if you want to, but what's the point?
How fast is it going? Like 2,300 roughly?
What, when it leaves the barrel, when it gets out to that far?
Yeah.
Like
how fast is the muzzle?
it goes below the speed of sound somewhere around like 400 to 450 yards. So I think it leaves like 2,300, and then it drops velocity like pretty exponentially once it gets past 300 yards. But you're going below the speed of sound, like right around 425, 450, somewhere in there. I'm a little bit fuzzy on that. But once it goes below the speed of sound, the effects the wind has on it is ridiculous. Like I can send you footage from Henry from 9-Hole Reviews. He pushed it out to 500, and like you see him making like one shot hits all the way out to 3. But once he goes to 350, the wind is just knocking it all over the place. So it's definitely not ideal for distance. No matter how much people want to like send me Robski, links and shit like that. And I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying most of us can't, and it's not something that I see any use for. There's no use to train for a 700-yard 7.62 by 39 shot. I mean, it's cool for a novelty, but that's not something you should be training for.
Yeah. You mean you're not taking your AK out to 1,000 all the time?
No. I have a friend. He built a 7.62 by 39 bolt gun. He is legitimately taken it out to 1,100 yards. 12-inch gong with 7.62 by 39, and it's like when you see him, it's a Hub City Outdoors. It's like an obsession of his to hit things at distance with 7.62 by 39. So can it be done? Yeah, he's taking it out to like 1,100, 1,100 yards, but it's basically like indirect fire at that point. I mean, he's softballing that bitch in there. I don't know what the kinetic energy is when it hits, but I'm sure it's not. It's probably like a flick at that point. It's probably out.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get shot by it, but yeah,
I wouldn't want to get shot by it, but at the same time, it's how much punch does it really have at that distance? Not a whole lot. Now, even like 7.62 by 39, even when you're punching it out to like 700 yards, if you look at the velocity, or I'm sorry, the energy, it's the same energy as like a 9mm plus P, right? Like, so even out to 700 yards, you're still hitting them with a decent amount, not a decent amount, but an acceptable amount of energy. You're going to hurt them. But my point is the ability of you to hit things out to that distance, slim to none. I actually had somebody point that out to me today, like in the comments of Instagram, is like, well, the bullet drop, you could calculate the bullet drop. Like, yeah, the bullet drop's not the issue. It's the effect of wind. Like wind is going to push that little chunky boy around pretty good. Yep. But anyway, I feel like I was talking over you.
No. It comes down to what we just talked about earlier with high muzzle velocity and danger space. Can you stuff that far? Yeah, but I mean, for one, they're not that accurate that far away. And also, you better be on your game with your so you can lob them in there. If you have a really
you can lob them in there, but
if you have a really fast gun with a flatter trajectory, you've got a longer danger space, so it just makes it easier to get hits.
Well, I mean, this goes back to the conversation we were having earlier about zeros. So to make those shots, you have to zero for 300. And again, I had a video on this, so it's a little bit fresh in my brain. I'm not an expert. I'm not the guy that can just like recall facts like this. So essentially, if you zero it for 300, you got less of a drop to worry about once you get to 4, 5, 6. But the problem is that zero is optimized for 300. So if you're trying to shoot, from 25 to 200, the bullet is on its upward trajectory. You know what I mean? Sure. So that if you're trying to hit something before 300, you got to aim low, right? And that's not ideal to me. I'd rather just put a 50 to 100 yard zero on my 7.62 by 39, aim here, and from 25 to 250 yards, if I'm aiming here, I'm probably going to hit the dude. It's an optimized zero.
Here's something people will argue and like post comments and go all over the place. you can use math and science to figure all this stuff out, and you can look. You can compare, this mirror to this mirror and this cartridge to this cartridge, and you can see how much energy is transferred at each range. But in the end of the day, it's a preference, right? Like, as long as you can hit the target, rifles suck to get shot by. So
yeah, I mean,
I would tell people, man,
the only shots that counts are the ones that hit. So
Yep.
the majority of us can't hit shit past 300. That's the majority of us. And that's the benefit of, like we were saying earlier, the 20-inch barrel is you got the velocity and it's shooting straight enough that you're taking a lot of the drop out of the equation. So it makes your job a lot easier. I'm going to have to cut out of here in a minute. I'm like 5% left on my phone. But we've been going for a little bit over 2 hours, so we got plenty of things going on here. Anything you want to close out on?
Yeah. Do you care if I give a plug for my match coming up?
Yeah, go ahead. Do whatever you want to do.
Okay. I have a combat pistol match coming up June 14th, and it's in the same vein as like Whiskey Hotel / Ridge Runner type match. It's a full kit combat themed match. So you're required. Technically, it's a 2-gun match. So I called it a combat pistol match. Technically, it's 2-gun. You need your fighting rifle, full combat loadout. You don't need armor, but I have rules. You'd have to look it up. And it's a pistol match. So I'm going to shoot roughly 20 rifle rounds, 250 pistol. The whole point is to have your rifle slung in the way. And the theme is your rifle breaks on stages or runs out of ammo. So you might shoot like 3 shots and go to bolt lock, have to transition to pistol and shoot targets. And the other theme is ordnance. So you're going to be throwing training frag grenades, fake detonators and stuff to set off claymores. I made a AT4 trainer that works. It's sick. So anyway.
Yeah, you're telling me about that. That sounds awesome.
I got it finally working good too, and I bought tracers for it. Got a mortar simulator. All this stuff will be tied into the stages. So it'll just flow good. It'll be fun. Anyway, I got these in front of me. Trophies for it, which is sick.
Nice.
Got a claim first, 60 mil mortar for second, and a frag for third. So I'm really excited about this. I've been pouring my heart into this match for 6 months. Oh, I bought a crashed helicopter fuselage. So guys,
yeah, you showed me that. It looks awesome.
That'll be sick.
I sent it to my boy that's a pilot and a gun enthusiast, and he's like, "That is amazing!" Like he did.
I'm so excited for it. It's gonna be fun. I got we built some bunkers. We got the knockout bunkers with frags in your rifle. I'm excited for it, man. It's a pistol match. Like I said, 20 rifle rounds, 250 pistol. It's just gonna be fun. So if you want to run your kit, you guys can. I guess if you want to find the match, Hood's Handgun Training on Facebook and Instagram. I have links to the match in there. You got to sign up on Practice Score, but I got like 20 spots left, and I'd like to fill it. But it's my first one, so nobody knows about it. Yep.
Well, and that's the thing. It's that's the beauty. Like I know you don't like the social media, but it's the best way to get your business out there. You know what I mean? Like, you got to put a little bit of effort into it. Unfortunately. As much as I hate, what's that?
Sorry, he asked where I was at. I'm in Ohio, Southeast Ohio.
Yeah, you got to these days. You got to have the social media if you want to promote your business. Otherwise, it's not going to go anywhere. Give me 1 second. I want to grab something. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, we're in Southeast Ohio, guys. So yeah, banjo music for sure. Waco kid, my buddy Coy, I love you, man. It's good to see you in there. We are definitely in Appalachia.
I'm back. All right, Alexander. I got this guy, Alexander. He keeps like going on about stolen valor.
Man, you got a lot of.
I have one. Yeah. Here's a picture of me getting it in case you think I just went to like the Army Navy store. I mean, this is the way it goes. This is how my life goes, man. Like, you speak out against things that are popular, like PSA and Grand Thumb, things like that. Because let's be frank. They're not. It's not a good company. It's not a good product, and that's not a good dude. But they have such a following that it's like a cult. So it's like me speaking out against Scientology, and I just get these, the cult-like following. Just these they just come at me. It's just absolutely batshit insane. You know, it's just crazy. I'll just keep blocking them. It's fine, but it's like I'm trying to have a conversation, and then I see, you know, the nutters in there just like going bananas. It's like, eBay purchase. See, look, this Anthony Alexander guy is saying I got my shit on eBay. It's like dude, like you need to get a life. Like I am not worth your time. Like trust me. You know, it's very easy. Like I'm just gonna block you right now, and then all this time that you spent like trolling me doesn't mean shit. You know, it doesn't matter. But anyway, it doesn't matter to me.
Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
No, I'm glad you came on. I've really enjoyed our talk, and you know, I hope we get to do some stuff together in the future. I want to come out and take one of your class. I'm just completely booked up this year, so it's definitely going to be hopefully Q1, Q2 next year. We'll see.
Yep.
See how it goes. But I'm going to hop off here. I'm at like 2%.
Yep. Have a good one.
Talk to you later, man.
Yep. See you.